There's an amazing version of that over here in the States called Dots.
Oh,
Remind me of that. I'll bring some over for you.
you
next
better
time.
bring them. Pretzels are my jam.
Oh, well, there's another thing over here. Peanut butter stuffed pretzels.
I'm with you.
I've had them.
Yeah, they're amazing.
Right.
Incredible.
So I once found, right, so peanut butter is better than whiskey, right? That's just a fact. So I don't even know why you're laughing, right? So I once found it was double dipped peanut butter pretzels in dark chocolate.
Oh my
Honestly,
God.
I ate 6 bags in the bounce, man. I thought I was going to have a heart attack, man. It's amazing.
That's filth. That's absolute
Also,
filth.
we're talking about cream eggs before, Gregor. If you ever had a cream egg, right, you just coat it in smooth peanut butter, right, and then roll it in peanuts.
And roll it in peanuts.
Or get two full dairy milks, right? Take them out the wrapper and then put smooth peanut butter between them and make a wee chocolate peanut butter sandwich.
Scotty, how are you still alive?
I'm not actually. I'm on a drip and everything. It's terrible. But so
Peanut butter trip.
because the UK has never embraced chocolate and peanut butter like they have in the States. They just never done it, right?
Yeah.
But so you have to do it yourself. That's what I'm saying, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a recent convert as well. Reese's is big here now, right? In the last year or two, Reese's is not, and it's.
But the chocolate's not very good.
I know it's American
honest.
chocolate. That's what I was just about to say. It's American chocolate, but it's good. The Reese's peanut butter cups. Honestly, it's just I'm not a big chocolate fan. I'll have a wee bit of chocolate and I'm fine. But if those are in the house, I'm ravenous.
Yeah, it's game over, man.
No, it just tastes amazing. It just tastes.
I don't want to
amazing.
get it back on point, but we're going into chocolate. We're actually talking about peanut butter, so let's get back to peanut butter, right?
Oh, calm down. Calm down a bit. God.
Who hasn't sat in their pants in the sofa with a spoon and a jar of peanut butter? Huh? Are we recording?
Hello, Dramfacers. Welcome to episode 18 of Whiskey Munchies. Do you prefer the second episode's looseness of you guys?
This is the first time I've ever done a second episode.
Oh, it's good.
Hello, Dramfacers. Welcome to episode 18, unofficially titled Who Knows? My name's Gregor McWee. Welcome. Today I'm joined by
Gordon,
Rob,
Roy,
and Scott.
You want the old way?
Well, can't it be both?
Hello, Dramfacers. Welcome to episode 18, unofficially titled Who Knows? My name's Gregor McWee. Today I'm joined by Rob Roy, Gordon, and Scott Munro. How are we all?
very well, thanks.
Hello,
thanks,
Gregor.
fella.
We're good, thanks.
Good.
How are you?
Good. I'm fantastic. I am moving to H2O though because it is daytime for me, whereas you guys are on your Friday night.
Oh, yes.
Scott, what's in your glass?
Right, so I've gone for a single malt. I'll go for a single malt Irish, and I'm having a wee dram of the Killowen. This is the 6-year-old rum and raisin. So Killowen, really good stuff. Very, very small batch distillery. This is something I shouldn't probably like because it's got PX and dark rum finish in it, and it's a 6-year-old. But it's a lovely whiskey. It's natural colour, or I don't know if it's natural colour. It doesn't say. It says non-chill filtered. It's direct flame fired stills, and it's a crack 55%. This is batch 4. They only do it in 50 cl bottles. But if you like Irish whiskey, it's an absolute winner. And I know that they've got a bit of a cult status now, but really good stuff. It's delicious. The mouthfeel's amazing, and the taste. Those two, the PX and the rum, don't overpower. Done with a very gentle hand. It's just a delicious, tasty Irish whiskey. So I'm bringing something a wee bit different to the podcast tonight.
I love it. I don't know Killowen. That's a new one on me.
Very, very small. If you look at them online at the side of the distillery, it's like tiny. It's like a shed. but it's really good stuff, and I say it's hard to get hold of, and it's quite pricey for what it is, but I think you're paying for a bit of quality, so I don't mind paying the money for this. Definitely recommend it. It's good stuff.
Nice. Rob, have you poured?
Not yet, but I have pulled a bottle. I want it to be quite topical after last week's episode when we talked about the price of bottles and also auctions. And something that got mentioned last week, I actually managed to pick up in my latest auction, and it's the Lagavulin 12 for £70.
Yes.
So I managed to get it
Brilliant.
as you guys said last week, what you used to be able to pay for it. It's my first ever Lagavulin 12
Brilliant.
cast strength, and yeah.
What year is that one? Is that a 2020 one you've got there?
2020, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got its brother, the 2020 Talisker 8, which is unfortunately I think it's the
Rum
rum
cask.
cask. Yeah.
It's not.
But hopefully this
It's
makes
quite
up for
light.
that, yeah.
It's quite
Yeah,
light
actually,
in colour, eh?
it's-
Yeah. I've not tried that one,
Yeah.
Rob, but if you get that for 70 odd quid, that's a steal.
There was actually a big lot of them, so it kind of shows that you kind of keep an eye on a few, and there was like 12 of these different vintages. But I've got to say, now I've got it in person, I'm not a fan of the new labels.
Oh.
The label. Sorry, I've only had a pour out of it, but
Well, that one that you have, the label is still quite tame. They've got
Yeah.
even more outlandish since that.
Aye.
That one has just kind of flora and fauna type
Mhm.
vibes to it, right? Birds
but
and things.
I know they all the Diageo, they all use the same bottle shape or thereabouts.
Yeah.
But there's something about that Lagavulin bottle with the little ellipsis label, and
Yeah.
it's iconic.
Oh, it's just class. It's class. It absolutely is. It's just
Oh, the capsule. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
green glass as well. The green glass does it.
Aye, yeah.
Yeah. They've gone a bit crazy with the crayons and the new ones, the new special releases. never mind. Let's not talk about the prices either. So, but yeah, for that price, Rob, that's brilliant.
well done.
Gordon, what's in the glass?
Last week I was quite light, and so this week I'm quite dark. I went for a Kilkerran 8-year-old cast strength, 56.9.
Nice.
I know that one, the 56.9. Now, if I remember well, that was 2020s.
That was the second one, wasn't it? The second
Yeah,
sherry.
the second big sherry one that came out
Ah.
after the 57.1, I think.
I have no idea.
I think it's quite sulphury, that one.
Oh, aye. It's great. It's really dirty, as they say.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see how new the 8 actually was. I mean, I know it's only, it just come back, Kilkerran. But what was it? When was the first release, Roy? Or anyone?
2016,
27. I was going to say 2017. The 12 came out in 2016. Maybe an 8-year-old came out then as well, but I thought it was 2017.
I've got because it was the first 3 were 8-year-olds were bourbon cask only. And then 2018, the first sherry one came out, or was it 2019? I can't remember.
2019, the 57.1 came out. Yeah.
It's dark stuff.
I can't remember if it was in the Aquavite Facebook or not, but I did see someone give a rundown I don't know why they had a rundown of all the 8s coming, having been, and the ones that are coming.
Well, just to say, I went to a Glasgow Whiskey Club night a few weeks ago, and one of the guys, Dave, Precarious Dave, he brought along all the 8s up to now in a kind of vertical or a horizontal.
Jeez.
And it was incredible. It was just so interesting to try them side by side. Those 3 bourbon cask ones, that you'd think, well, they're 8-year-old bourbon cask, there can't be that much difference, but there really was. Like, I think the first one was maybe a little hotter. The second one for me was right in the sweet spot. But yeah, just to try them side by side and to try your one there, Gordon, along with was it the 59.1, the one before it, just to try and
57.
yeah.
57?
57.1, yeah.
Yeah.
It was so interesting to just try them side by side. I think I've got a list of them here just to check. Aye.
I preferred this one. I had a big sample of the 57.1, and I preferred this one.
So there was like batch 1, 2, 3 of the bourbon, and then the sherry cask batch 1, batch 5, which is the one you've got there, and then it was the 2022 sherry cask, and the port cask matured as well.
Yeah.
So Dave, incredibly generous to bring those bottles, and just pop them open and share them with the club. It was a great night.
Nice.
I love the thought of doing that vertically. That's very cool. And
Yeah,
that's
really cool.
the chances of that, right? Like, and one person bringing the bottles. That's
And it's fun. The discussion about
More
that night
impressive.
was: is that a vertical or a horizontal, or is it a horizontal vertical? You know, it's kind of but all of the same expressions, batch by batch by batch.
Yeah.
Everyone was
Right.
horizontal
I
at the
know.
end.
Well, at the end of it, someone started passing the bottle of Kilkerran 16 at the end of it as well. So we were pretty much horizontal.
Aye, that was Stuart, and he for his 50th he brought that 16-year-old in. It was kind of interesting though, right? Because we were all in love and walling around in these amazing cast strength Kilkerrans, and then at the end of the night, that kind of delicate, 46% 16-year-old was just going, oh my goodness, it just sang, didn't it? It was
That's a
delicious.
cracker.
See, I was going to throw out there Kilkerran 12 might be better than 16.
Oh, I've heard that opinion.
Fight me.
Okay, right. So
I would fight you on that.
I'm on Gregor's side.
Well, I would say that the 12, I've had some quite peaty versions of the 12 and some that are not so peaty. But for the 16, you could say what's a bit more delicate. I think when the 16 came out, a lot of people were expecting this kind of explosion of flavour, and it wasn't really there. It's quite a subtle whiskey, but much like the Glencairn 18, you just sit down with it and just take your time and just let it do its thing, and it's a top whiskey.
I know. For me, it was sublime. It was a hard to reach past. I've got a wee drop left. One of the bottles, the other one's long gone. Thought it was just terrific whiskey. It's not hooky. It's not big. It's not loud or shouty. It's just very, very subtle, elegant. You have to sip it in contrast with maybe something like a Glencairn 18 or something, also light and subtle, in order to pick up that kind of Campbelltowny, Kilkerran side of things. It's true. If you're looking for hooks and things, if you're looking for something with a wee bit more bold, probably the 12 can bring that. But for me, the 16 was just close to perfect whiskey, close to perfect contemporary whiskey.
So anticipated was that Kilkerran 16 that when I finally got a tasting set that Sevi had bought a bunch of us on our behalf, when I finally got it about a year or a year and a half later, he drank my 16-year-old sample. So I opened this presentation box, and it's got a wee, a really nice stemmed Copita, and then, there's the 12 and whatever. And then there's the 16's missing.
And
I said, Sevi, where's my 16? Because I drank it, and I think he slipped in an Elijah Craig 18 or something. Hey, you bastard. Thanks for that. Cheers,
we love you,
Sevi.
Sevi, man. How you doing?
Okay. We love even more the fact that you tan Gregor's dram. That's even better.
It's brilliant.
In his defence, I think he bought us all those sets on our behalf without us saying yes, we wanted them. But of course, we did want them. Roy, what's in your glass?
I've gone Arran, a Lowland Arran. I've gone for their lag. It's the sherry cask one. So not anything for Gregor. Sorry, not anything for Scotty, but maybe something that could interest Gregor. And except it's heavily peated, so I cancel him out as well. I can't stay away from this. It's ridiculously interesting whiskey to me. It's just full and thick and heavy. It reminds me of treacle. It's terrific. And I know somebody told me that you were able to pick these up in auction recently. That was before the auction finished, so it'd be interesting to see what they finished at. I didn't check. But I would love another bottle of this sherry cask lag, this inaugural. It's not as batch 2, but they had 3 inaugural releases: a bourbon, a sherry, and I think a wine release as well. I don't have the wine release. The bourbon one is good, very interesting, but the sherry one for me is just pretty magic. It's like nothing else that I've got on the shelf. So if I'm in the mood for something like this, I'm reaching for it. I'm loving it.
And all lag is peated, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have to say, as you held that bottle up, I am a sucker for beautiful design and beautiful bottles, and I think I was on the social medias applauding Rassi. I think his top 5 bottle designs, but I have to say, in probably the opposite spectrum of that, the lag bottle is pretty special for its simplicity, and I love the mountain line. It almost looks like the whiskey line of your Glencairn, right? When you roll That's pretty. I mean, I assume that's what it's for.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
why.
I love it. And it gives you this concept, this idea. It's already subliminally planted in your mind. This is going to be a
Thick.
gloopy, thick dram. And,
Yeah.
it's no surprise that it is. They have reduced it. These are not cast strength, but they're at 50%. So it's still pretty punchy. It's still pretty thick. I'm a fan. If you visit Lag and you see the stills, it's just, they're making no bones about it. You know how you see these elegant these stills, and you see these the kind of reflux balls and things. These really, that's not Lag. It's just a big. They're not stills. They're dollops. They're big copper dollops. These are big fat stills. So there's no way that anything else is in their minds there, but to make a bold, thick, robust spirit. It's in the lowlands, bizarrely. It's in the southern half of Arran, right? But it's going to be there's no other lowland whiskey, I think, like this. There's no other peated whiskey like this. Already, I'm super excited about how Lag is, where they're going to take us in the future. I hope they continue just being a wee bit out there, a wee bit maverick about things. Like I've said from the get-go, I tried Lag in the Bonaccord, Scotty. I think you were there that night.
I was, yeah.
And I didn't know what to make of it. I was like, this is it's nothing like I expected.
Yeah, I had a wee sip and it was a bit sort of rough and ready, but again, I can't judge it on one tiny sip.
Yeah, I felt the same way that night, and I've since bought a bottle of it. I'm halfway through getting to know it. I'd say the bourbon cask is, once you understand it a wee bit more, it is good. But this sherry cask one just brings all that kind of, almost like sticky toffee pudding, tablet and fudge. But bizarrely, it's a wee bit dirty with it as well.
We've learnt that peanut butter is a weakness for Scott Monroe, but clearly, like words like jammy and treacle and raisin, it seems to be triggering Gordon something rotten.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I get a kind of dirty jammy note from a Loch Lomond 18. There's a dirty jamminess kind of on the back end of that as well. Like, so
it's a wee bit different from that. I know exactly the note you're talking about on the 18-year-old. That's really quite a murky dram, right?
I would think that the Lag with the sherry though would work better considering its age, and it is a bit sort of elemental. With the bourbon cask, it's quite. I think the sherry will. I mean, what you're describing there sounds pretty tasty stuff. So I've not really explored Lag. It's not kind of something I've had a look at apart from that wee taste. But I mean, even to me, as someone who doesn't really go for sherry stuff, that sounds pretty damn good.
I need to get some out to you. I need to just get some bottled up and get it.
I'll be right over, Roy. I'll just jump in a taxi.
Magic. There's always a space.
Has supply gone past the inaugural? Is it general release now, or is it still on the first wave?
No, I think it's still on the first wave. They had the 1, 2, 3 that they released. The stuff that they distributed widely was snapped up very quickly, but just fortune had me arrive at Lag as they released the first one, and I picked that up, and then I was in Good Spirits Company and they had this on the shelf amazingly, and I said, oh, okay, I'll pick that one up. They had the third on the shelf as well, and I picked this one up too. It's not cheap whiskey, so I have to caveat this is a recommendation because it's 75 quid, so there's not going to be a lot of it around. Like I've said before, this is a privilege thing. This is a snapshot of where we are today. You're not going to be able to nip in and pick up this bottle or anything like it in 10 years' time. We're able to drink this now because of where they are now, and that's just the shape of it. I would say that for me, the exciting distilleries are, there's a couple over on the East Coast. There really is. I'm enjoying Kingsbarns and Lindors, but the exciting distilleries remain Ardnamurchan, Torrevieck. There's excitement up in Rassay. And I'm super excited about Lag all of a sudden. But I know it's a very personal thing. I know it's not very wide, but it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. And it is peaty, but its peat is integrated well too. It's not just a big blast of ashen soot, right? The peat is a savoury element here. I don't know how they're doing it. Maybe it's the cask that's helping this one, but it's good.
Sounds interesting. Just to touch on it, like, do you anyone remember that also the Ardmore Traditional, which came out?
Oh, very, very sadly missed. Aye, absolutely.
Yeah, so non-chill filtered, 46% on each statement. Yep. But I always found that the peat in that was a dark, savoury note rather than an overpowering smokiness, if you know what I mean, which kind of add this kind of depth of character to it. I wonder if that's kind of similar to the lag you're describing, Roy.
I think it is. It's more similar to that. I mean, if we go into a young Kalila, if we pick up an Ardbeg, a wee beastie or something, the first thing that hits you is that cold ash, that super maritime, sooty peatiness, right?
Yep.
That's not
Yep.
what's happening here. What's happening here is it's much more kind of musty, much more kind of, it's part of the message rather than the message. I don't know.
Nice. I'm intrigued. It sounds pretty good.
Aye.
Well, Gordon, is these two wax lyrical about perfectly balanced peat? What
Yeah.
would you say to date has been, because you're not a peat monster, right?
No.
So what's your definition of well balanced integration of peat so far on your journey? And you can't say argument.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
That's no fair.
I'll tell you what really excited me, and it was the Lagavulin 8.
Mm-hmm.
That was the one that, because I went on an Ardbeg trip and I had the wee beastie, and I had the 10, the Ugadal, I had the An Oa, and then I had the Lag 8, and I thought, wow, it was like pickled onion monster munch.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it was savoury, and it was sweet, and it was smoky, and it was coastal, and it was salty, and then it was toffee, and it was everything. And I thought, I wrote about it as a kind of piece of music, and it still to this day feels that way. It's almost like a symphony. It's fantastic.
what about a pickled onion monster munch and a frazzle at the same time?
A frazzle.
Oh,
Yeah, the bacon.
never made Michelin
Crisps.
star, man. I'd eat that in a second.
I'm starving.
Glued together with some peanut butter.
That's
Glued
Funnily
together
enough-
with some peanut butter.
disgraceful, Gregor.
Funnily enough, when we were at the Fife Whisky Festival, the festival bottling this year was, when we had a wee sample of it, it was a wave of, it's the most salty whiskey I've ever tried. It was a wave of smoked bacon. It was incredible. And I'd in the middle of the festival, I think I just shouted, "Wow!" It was just so incredible. Just this wave of like breakfast smoked bacon. It was
Was that a
incredible.
Stoisha? Was that? I didn't try it.
Yes, 8 years old, was it?
Yeah, it was 8. I think it was. Yeah, I didn't
Was
get a
it?
chance to try it,
Aye,
but
and
that sounds pretty good.
I wish I'd bought a bottle. I didn't.
But yeah, the Lagavulin.
Rob, what about-
Lagavulin 8's a cracking dram.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Really is.
Tesco Club Card as well. Well, if you can get it on Tesco Club Card, I think
aye.
it's 38 quid or
Yeah.
something.
That's brilliant. That's
And it's
Oh,
interesting to hear you talking about all these savoury things with it, because for me, there's the thing about Lagavulin 8, it gives you this icing sugar sweetness.
Oh, aye.
There's
Yep.
especially in the finish, you're kind of left with this. It's like you've just been eating powdered icing sugar. It's been a wee while since
It's
I've
good.
put
Rob, what
my
about-
face in a Lagavulin
Rob,
8.
what-
Mhm.
Rob, what defines well balanced peat for you?
Well, the first one that came to mind was because it's Ben Romack,
Mhm.
but I also see Ben Romack as a bit of a buffet of everything. It has the perfect balance of peat, sherry, and ex-bourbon, and you can still recognise it as Ben Romack.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I can't get enough of it at the minute. It's especially the I think Roy and I had a discussion. I think I was a bit of an impasse, and I normally go to the Dramface Writers group on what I should buy if I'm kind of stuck between two. And there was a single cask ex-bourbon and the standard Ben Romack cask strength, and I ended up getting both down the line, not at the same time, obviously, but I think the balance of sherry, the peat, and the bourbon just strikes a chord with me. It feels like I'm being greedy, that I just want everything in the one bottle, in the one glass, but it's just it's perfect for me.
I felt that way with an Abbey whiskey, Ben Romack, which had the kind of topsy-turvy journey of flavours. It was everything at once, but you could also identify all these different flavours. It was fantastic.
Because you reviewed that dram, didn't you? It was or taste. There was two. You reviewed it, Gordon, and then there was a second taste notes.
Yes.
I bought.
No.
He might have. He might not. You never.
Yep.
You might not have. It might have been me.
Yes.
Might
I
be.
think it was me.
Well, because there was
It was
a
me.
review in Dramface,
Yes.
and I was sub editing the review, and I was like, man, that sounds magic. So I bought.
It was magic, and I killed it as well.
I bought a bottle, and it's sadly gone. It's the best Ben Romack I've ever had. It was like first full bourbon cask matured, just lights out magic.
Good stuff.
Test a theory for me, then. The peat lovers in the conversation. End of your dinner, you're out, and it's dessert time. What are you ordering between a cheese plate or a sticky toffee pudding?
I'm so hungry.
Sticky toffee pudding.
So hungry.
See,
I love.
I'd order the cheese first, and then I'd have the sticky pudding.
No, I'm paying. You only get one.
I've got the sweetest tooth ever. Like so, I love cheese.
Interesting.
Cheese and a pita. By the way, nice strong cheese and a pita whiskey's magic.
I thought you were going to say peanut butter there for a second.
Peanut butter goes with everything, right? Including pita whiskey. No, I would always choose a dessert, or I would always.
And Roy, where you going?
Cheese. I would always take it. Even before I was into whiskey, I have a slight sweet tooth, but it just takes a wee bit of sugar to sate it. I'm always savoury. And I love cheese. And since I've discovered cheese and whiskey, oh wow, it's just superb.
I'm
My
ashamed
missus.
to say on you go.
I was going to say, speaking about last week, talking about Pandering, my missus bought me a cheese and Pandering gift basket, and that kind of set off a little bit of a tradition for birthday, cheese and whiskey. And one year I got a Tobermory 12 and a smoked Isle of Mull cheese as well to go with it. And it's just to do it the other way around and have a smoked cheese and a lighter whiskey is just it's fantastic.
Do you know what? I'm starving as well, but I will say that there's a cheesemonger near me, and it does a pecorino filled with truffle.
Oh, pecorino!
And it's like
goodness.
It's like about 10 quid for a thin slice of it. But honestly, I can't get between the cheese shop and the house without it just cramming into my gob. It's amazing. Never had the chance to try a whiskey because it's gone by the time it gets up the road.
So inspiration has struck. We're going to park this, and I think a follow-up podcast. We will do a pairing live.
Oh yes,
we'll do that.
Idea.
We'll do that all together, and we'll obviously pre-publish the cheeses and such, so you can do it along. That would be good. That's one to bank.
100%, I'm in.
All over it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So today's topic was to be around nose notes and such, and it was kind of brought on from a question from the community. We got a submission from Matt Gooding, and I wanted to play it and kick this around because I think it's a topic that we might have touched on in the past, but not specifically.
Is this a Dramophone?
This is a message from Dramophone from Matt
Terrific.
Gooding, and I think it's a great question.
Hi guys, everybody. Sorry, that's an inclusive term. Please don't think it isn't. My name's Matt Gooding. I really enjoyed the podcast, really enjoyed the reviews. Been a member for the early days. Just want to say I really enjoyed the podcast, especially hearing you guys talk about whiskey in a way which is like, I guess, totally inclusive, depending on what stage you are in your journey, whether you've been doing it for years or recently or whatever. I live in the British Isles. I don't live in Scotland, but I like to visit. I suppose my question, if I have one, is like, I see myself as I really enjoy whiskey. I am still, new at it, new in the journey. But my question is, like, I don't, like, when I nose whiskey, I don't necessarily get all the other things that I read in tasting notes and I hear on podcasts. And I'm just wondering if there's any way you would suggest to try and improve that, whether there's any just, repeated smelling of whiskey, I suppose, which is one way to go, or if there's any other ways that you can think of, any suggestions. I'd really appreciate hearing it. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Great question.
That was awesome to hear.
Yeah, amazing feedback.
Cheers, Matt.
I've got an opinion about this.
Yeah.
I you only know what you know from the experiences that you have obtained. You don't know what a kipper smells like 4 weeks outside of a fridge until you've smelt a kipper 4 weeks out of a fridge. And so when people nose things and say, "Oh, this smells like a magazine," after it's been rained on, you need to have smelled that. And so I think my advice would be just go about and smell stuff. You know, really open up yourself to as many smells as you can, because only then can you reference them. Thank you.
I think that's true, and I think that we've talked about it often, and I think Ralphie actually did a video where he talked about walking up to a tree and taking a lungful of the bark, and just kind of. Certainly, since I got into whiskey, I've been very mindful about my general environment, the smelling, the air, and wherever I am, whether I'm indoors or outdoors or whatever. And food stuffs. When I'm tasting food, I'm not just saying, "Oh, that's delicious." I want to try and define why it's delicious, what I'm tasting, and whiskey has helped me do that. But for Matt, I need to reach out to Matt. I need to just put a wee hand on his shoulder and say, "Buddy, I was there. I was standing in the Good Spirits Company, and I just listening to the chat and walked into the tasting, and I sat down and I did the tasting, and I'm going back to 2012 or 2013, I don't know, and just kind of saying, yeah, I'm getting some of these things, but I'm not. These guys are at a different league. How are they tasting that? I call pish. There is no way that they're tasting all of these things, right? You think it's all smoke and mirrors and stuff. And then Matthew said to me, he said, hey, well, what you getting? I said, listen, I'm not getting, how are you getting all these? And he just said, it's practice. It's practice. So I would agree with what Matthew said, just practice it, right? So a decade on, I've practiced the hell out of it. But I would also say that it's confidence. So you need to write down. You need to vocalize. You need to put yourself in a position where you don't feel like an idiot because you taste peanut butter or sticky toffee pudding or a kipper that's been outside of the fridge for 3 weeks or a magazine. Say it. Yep. Say the words. Say it outside. And even if you don't nail it, you've tried to get it as close to what you can identify, and then maybe somebody that you're sitting with will go, "Oh, magazine. Oh, I'm getting. It's a wee bit like a Polaroid photograph or something similar. It's, oh, it's not a magazine. It's that." And through being in company where you feel not silly about trying to tease these things out, more and more pours out, and you start to feel like it. And see, some nights you'll get nothing. And then other nights, you just can't keep your face out the glass. You need practice, but more than anything, you need to feel confident. And if you're in company where you don't feel you can say these things, you're not drinking in the right company.
Yeah. I think that confidence thing also builds into the willingness to be open to suggestion.
Yeah.
If you're opening yourself up to suggestion, suddenly your memory unlocks lots of reference points. Oh, that smells like a coal fire when I was walking down the road when I was a wee boy. Suggestibility has a lot to do with the access to these notes and being able to vocalize or at least contextualize or conceptualize, what you're finding in the glass.
Yeah.
If you're a closed book, you're never going to find very much because you're not letting your mind open itself to
absolutely
suggestion.
And you're not competing. See, if there's somebody at the table that's getting everything, tune into them.
Yep.
You're going to enjoy it more and more. And if you can just contribute anything or nothing, it doesn't really matter. But just be in a position to. You're absolutely spot on, Gordon. Be as open-minded as you can be. Yeah, if you can contribute, fine. But nobody's relying on you. Enjoy is a keep it fun and
relinquish it.
Yeah, I would say drinking in company. It just takes. You could be sniffing a glass and you're not getting much, or you're getting something vague. But someone you're with says, I get lemon drizzle cake or something, and oh, there it is. The power suggestion maybe can then lead you on to different things as well. I mean, you can buy aroma kits, but I don't think they would be worth the money. I agree with you, Gordon. If you smell stuff, like if you're making food at home, if you got you get your coriander out and have a proper sniffer or paprika or that kind of stuff, and just do it. But I also say that the confidence to say things is one thing, but it's and you're never wrong. You know what you get is somebody else might not get that. So I was drinking a Dalmunach 6-year-old, and it reminded me immediately, right? And this doesn't happen very often, of chocolate Ruffle bars that you can get, the kind of dark chocolate with the kind of raspberry in the middle.
Raspberry fondant, right?
Yeah, and it
Yes.
was exactly like that. So I ended up buying a 6-pack out of those, and having a smell and a taste, and it didn't taste anything like it, but it was something about it. Just it triggered a memory,
Yeah.
you know, and that memory, but yeah, it's about exposure to as many flavors, sweet, sour, all these kind of things, you know. But I don't ever think that if you're smelling a whiskey, you don't get anything that you're doing it wrong, or you just enjoy it for what it is. If you're enjoying the dram, that's great, and then just start picking one thing out. You know, it might be vanilla from a bourbon cask, it might be raisins or something from a sherry cask, and then just build on it. Just take your time. You know, I would say pour a dram. First of all, let it sit for 20 minutes or so before you even touching it, and then go into it and see, and just go back to it. Keep going back to it throughout the course of a night. You know, don't rush it, and write everything down, you know. And then next time you have a dram, go back to your notes and see if you get the same things. You might not, or you might get added things as well. Like, there's no exact science, but exposure to as many flavors and tastes as possible is a good way, you know.
Yeah.
I think there's always a time and a place to be. I mean, I feel like sometimes some of the notes that people in the whiskey community kind of like pull out of thin air, and it's so like there's epiphany moments. But I feel like, especially some of my friends who sometimes you have to kind of spoon feed or kind of hold the hand a little bit. I think there is a time and place to be a bit more analytical about it, and maybe just think. I've done it before, and I've been stuck in a dram, and it's like a peat bomb, and it's just kicking me in the face with peat. But if you find a sweetness in it, and it's like, okay, I can smell a sweetness. But what kind of sweetness is it? Is it like a fruity sweetness? Is it like a bold sweet sweetness? Is it just, and then I try and tease it out and try and be a bit more, rather than it doesn't always have to be like a eureka, oh my God, this is a smelly kipper.
I would also say, like, you know, water, you know, add a couple of drops, see how it changes, leave it, see how it changes, add some more water, and just keep bringing it down, you know, and just, you know, don't be afraid of drowning it, but do it gently. Use it as I can't say a sacrifice dram, maybe not, but you know, if you just take it down gradually over the course of an evening, and adding water is going to change the flavors and the scents you get as well. Like, so,
I quite regularly lose drams to that, Scotty. I sacrifice drams. You know, you've lost it. You know, you've put too much water in it and it's gone a bit. But there's nothing you can do to rectify. Just leave it. Just enjoy it, drink it, and cover it up. Go back to it a wee bit later. See if it's given up anything else. You know, just play with it. And give one dram up.
The other thing people talk about as well is, if once you finish your dram, you go to bed. Next morning,
empty glass.
Give the glass a sniff. Maybe the next, you know, but just
always.
I call that the lazy git. So, you know, Lynn will say, "Oh, look at all these dirty whiskey glasses you could have." No, that's part of it, Lynn. And I stand there at the kitchen sink sniffing the glasses.
It's called breakfast, right?
Yes, it's breakfast. But I mean, it's amazing to hear, because Matt is coming across. What comes across from Matt there in that Dramophone is that he's enjoying it, he's loving it, but he's just feeling a wee bit like he's outside of the bubble, right? He's like, oh, I'm just not quite getting. Matt, you're not going to maybe recognize when it happens, but you're just going to one day fall in, and then it's going to get crazy. I remember 2020 or whenever, when Daniel Whittington was on from the Whiskey Tribe on the V-Pub, right? And I asked him about taste notes and things, and he said, when his epiphany moment is when he could taste notes in the whiskey that he could attribute to points in the process. So he could taste the malt from the mashing, he could taste, you know, the fermentation, he could taste the things that he could recognize what they'd tuned in the distillation or whatever. And when he was able to differentiate those different things to those points in the process, everything started to become a lot easier to break down. And he didn't choose that. It just kind of naturally happened. So Matt, stick with it. None of us are there. We're all just kind of on this kind of moving escalator together, and always put yourself in company where it's fine to talk about it, it's fine to vocalize. You're never wrong. Don't force it. You know, don't make up things that don't exist or aren't there. And just, if you get nothing, it's still fine. And if you get everything, brilliant. It's supposed to be fun, and this is part of the fun of it all. I absolutely love it. I love that I can sit with 25 mils of whiskey on a couch for 3 hours I never thought I could be that guy,
I think,
but I'm grateful.
yeah, I think what you mentioned there as well, Roy, is as to what the unlock was for Daniel is a bit to what Gordon was saying, that relies on a database, right?
Yes, it
you know,
does.
you need to have known what each of those bits smell or
Exactly. Yep.
taste like to draft. So there is inevitably going to be a frustration and an impatience, right? Because you've not built that database or you've not tried to unlock it. I
You
think is
need
a
to go
big
to a
one.
distillery and smell
Yeah.
what the barley smells like at that
Yeah.
point to be able to
Aye.
say that's what that barley. You need that reference
That's an
point.
interesting thing. I think
I think that's a great format for unlocking for people, right?
Yeah.
If distilleries were looking at a new way to this is getting to the geekery, right? Because not every visitor's a geek, but that would be an amazing tour to take you through, the 5 points or whatever of influence. I remember when we were at Loch Lomond Distillery there, I sniffed a virgin cask that hadn't been used, and it was just the raw oak. And I've never smelt raw oak in that way, that I could have sworn I could smell alcohol and
That's
whiskey,
right.
like
That's
all the
right.
whiskey smells. And I'm like, well, I've never connected these two because I've never had that reference point. It was privileged to smell it, but it was mind blowing. I'm like, that's oak, because everyone talks about, I get oak. I'm like, well, I know what a lollipop tastes like, but what are we talking about here? So I think your database you need to fuel and tap into. I think there's a great element of presence, right? We all talk about being hyper present in life, right? And I think you're sort of peeling back another layer of life of like, I'm going to dive into what all these aromas and smells are like and kind of build your own database. I think is the way to go. A couple of points I wanted to touch on as well, Roy. It's funny, I wrote notes and I was like, my first note was notes. Are they shite? Right, where you said because I think there is a tendency to as soon as people start to unlock it, they can start to get a bit too flowery. I think, and there's a tendency of some to try and one up, and they get into realms where I think you've gone past what is obviously a note, and you're starting to kind of manufacture it, right? You're saying, it's this with that and that. For me, that's a little bit too.
But that's
artistic.
whiskey excitement, isn't it? You're getting on board.
No, that's.
I don't know.
I agree. You need to. It takes all sorts to enjoy whiskey, right? You're just going to get some people that are like that are just going to. They're not just going to be happy with key lime pie. They're going to define exactly where the key lime pie has been bought from and what is garnishing the pie. It's going to get like that, and people are going to get like that. And other people
I
out
think
there
you can
will
get
relate
granular.
to that, and you and I might not. But there is a warning there, and there's just keep it accessible. Know your crowd, know your roomies, know your audience, know who you're with. And if you start getting a wee bit daft and flowery, just make sure that you're in a company that appreciates that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, daft and flowery's fine. I'm looking at my old blog here, right, and it's just full of utter nonsense right now. That's fine. But I guess, when I was younger, watching Food and Drink on BBC, and he had Jilly Goulden and Oz Clarke, reviewing wines, and they were coming out with these incredible descriptive tasting notes, and I thought,
aye.
I was maybe at that point too young to drink wine or have any appreciation of wine. I thought, that's just nonsense. But yeah, you stick your nose in it and you think, I'm getting some potpourri there, whatever it is, It's funny, like, we're talking about, it's all personal experience, Drew from Scotch for Dummies, and Peter Whiskey, he gets cake batter because it's a memory he has of growing up in the kitchen, the cake batter smell, that's what he gets from a Peter Whiskey. And it's all, so that might sound strange to somebody, but that makes total sense. So again, there's no right or wrong. Just sit and enjoy it and just take your time.
And everybody's data library, everybody's reference library is completely different. It's nice that you and I know what ruffle bars are, but if it'd be difficult. We need to justify we need to expand on that in a Dramface review to explain to people what a ruffle bar might be, because they're not that popular anymore, and certainly not outside of the UK. I'm desperate for a ruffle bar.
You get a 6-pack on Amazon.
And don't get me wrong, I'm all for granular, analytical notes. For me, when it goes fantastical, that's when I tap out, and that's just me. That's my point of reference. And I think if it goes too fantastical, I find that as a barrier to those that are just starting to try and figure some of
Right.
it out. So I think there's a balance.
Right.
But I do think confidence is a biggie, and I think I've been sat with yourself, Roy, and Sevi in the pot still, and I'm like, I'm tasting, like if it was brush, I'm tasting in the biggest, broadish brush stroke, whereas you guys are down at the fine tipped brush stroke and getting into that. So it is intimidating, and I think I can understand why Matt maybe gets frustrated or impatient. I would also say that there's no right here, right? So when you're sat with someone and they're getting all this and that, that's their experience and their thing. So it's not that you're trying to get to that space either and that note, because that's pointless, because their database isn't the same as yours. And I think that's an important one, is to enjoy your journey and your database.
Can I tell you something that's fascinating to me? So for the VPub, I'll keep it general. I'll keep it thick and easy and broad brushes. I try and do that at least. I hope I don't slip into silly and flowery on the VPub. But when I'm writing for Dramface, I try and get really quite granular. I could try and get detailed. I try and get my fine brush point out. If I'm collaborating and writing notes, I never read the other person's notes first. Never. Because it doesn't matter. All it can do is affect what I'm going to write. After I've done my own notes and written it up, I then compare it. Even if it's not my notes and if it's somebody else's, you compare the collaborative notes. It's nuts how close they are. Despite what we are saying that there's no right and there's no wrong, there is consensus. If you're honest and the context is right, and if you're confident and you just do the best you can, it doesn't need to match up entirely, but it's just amazing how close these notes can be sometimes. Would you agree, Gordon?
Sure.
A 4-week-old kipper is a 4-week-old kipper.
It's just, we've been here a week now. It's aged another week.
I mean, a flavour note is a flavour note, and you can recognise that because you've smelt it too. I think always be willing to be the fool, because by doing that, you are able to open yourself to every avenue. You're exposing yourself, and it's a bit vulnerable, but embrace it, because by doing that, you're able to access these different flavours that you might not have been open to. It smells like a rock on the beach that other day. And people might go, you sound like an idiot. But so what? That's what I'm smelling. If there's a bit of self-confidence and a bit of self-awareness.
I was never going to be your pal anyway, so if nothing's lost.
Well,
Gordon, that's 2 podcasts in a row that you've talked about exposing yourself. I'm a bit worried.
I'm
a bit worried.
I have to say, coming out.
Of all the interactions that I've watched as far as sort of picking apart drams and notes and so on, I have to say I've really come to enjoy Jen and Rachel on the show.
They're good value, aren't they?
It's fantastic.
I think they're so succinct as well. But the little dance that they do and I think that's a good example, Gordon, to what you're saying, is like they're not afraid to kind of be a fool and kind of just say what they see, say what they smell rather, or taste. I like that interaction. I think if you can tap into that in any way,
if you're looking for an antidote to pretentious whiskey tasting, Jen and Rachel probably are the champions of that, I would say. I absolutely agree with you. It's just 2 pals on a couch. Nobody's watching, they're just saying what they would say if and the more of that exists, the more the Matts of this world will be able to go, I can do that, no bother, right?
And without stating the obvious to Matt, I think tracking down a good tasting and nosing wheel, I've yet to properly sit and try and use them, and I'm 5 years in.
They're
but
terrific.
That and a notebook, a whiskey notes taking book are really good. There's one that comes out of Oregon, actually. I've plugged it a few times now, and it's all laid out for you, so you can, shorthand.
Look at this. This is I never thought this could exist. This is my whiskey tasting notebook, and I'm not one for notes. I'm just not that type of guy. And then I started doing it, and I'm like, I'm loving this. It's a different thing. It's a different way to sit with a glass of whiskey.
Google Drive is also as valid as a notebook. That's what I use. I just have a wee
Absolutely,
page up with
absolutely.
Google Drive. I just have a wee document. That's it.
That was me, Gordon. That was me, right? And I never had any kind of analog things left. All my diaries that I used to keep, all gone. It's all digital. It's all online. And then Julie gave me one of these. It's a wee Port Askig tasting book. And I went, "Thank you, Hen. I don't use these." But I said, for Dramface, I'm going to use it. And I'm loving the fact that I've got all of these kind of notes and
Emotions.
yeah. I never thought I would be that guy that would take pleasure in writing down notes in paper and collecting them all in the same kind of little vault, same little place. So there you go. You're still learning. We're all still learning wherever we are. And
Yeah, I'd love to do that, but my handwriting, I forgot how to write in the digital age. I haven't written anything down a sentence for about 14 years.
Scott's notes start really good, and then as he gets to the fifth dram, it gets...
Yeah, you try and write in cursive, and it looks like hieroglyphics, right? It's like, when did I learn not to not
starts drawing fallacies?
Incredible.
So Matt, I hope that's helpful. By all means, any of the community on the website under this link, if you've got tips and tricks, things that were maybe the unlock for you, by all means share them in there. I think we are a community, so it would be great to share. I'm sure there's some answers in there we probably didn't touch on.
Well, we got good mileage out of Matt tonight. Thanks for that, Matt.
Yeah, tremendous. And again, if anybody wants to pose us any questions or topics to expand on, do it, the Dramophone, or email timeforadram@gmail.com.
It might just inspire us to record a few more podcasts.
There you go. We vibe off the energy you give us. Rob, you nominated yourself for an I Am A Distillery last week.
Hi, yeah. I've been working tirelessly to get on sorted for this week.
Rob, is your microphone the one that's selected in your settings?
I think so.
It's
It's not.
Sounding echoey. Rob, but you need to get your finger out here, son. Come on.
So I just switched my headphones to the microphones. I missed all that completely. So I was lucky.
Right, just as well.
How's that? Is that better?
Gregor called you a bad word.
It's just the same.
No.
I don't know if you can do it midway through, can you? Can you change?
I don't want to touch anything on my laptop just in case. I mean, I've
Tap
changed
the
the
mic.
settings.
Yeah.
No.
That's dead. It's dead.
You can go up to call settings at the top there, Rob, and it will just switch it over.
It won't let me click it.
Because we're midway through. Try the drop down
There isn't
in
one.
the waveform. You can't change anything in there. No.
Nope.
It's just a health check. Right, buddy, just make it work. Well, let's figure out where your mic is and go as close to it as you can.
Aye. Just lie on your laptop.
Tap your laptop.
Just get very close.
It's getting better.
Yeah, that's better. Whatever you were tapping there is near it.
So I'm really quiet. Is that the problem? Is that better?
Get your face down
Closer
to it.
to your laptop. You didn't need to see you.
Hello.
Nope.
No. It's
Well, not
not.
any better. So
Is it? Is this? So it's not. Is that better or?
That's better.
Yes, that is better. Yeah.
All right. Cool. Okay, I'll just hold it here then.
Yeah.
This is quality.
all right,
This is the future, boys.
go for it, Rob. I Am A Distillery. You've got one shot to shoot. 10 questions. They start ambiguous, and we're all trying to beat Roy.
Cool. Okay. So first question, the easiest question. I am a distillery.
Glen Scotia.
Ah, you
Oh,
fucking.
that's you
You've
gone.
actually, but you've shot your shot.
Well, it's what it is.
Okay. Second question is, I was founded at the end of the 19th century by a Glaswegian. Okay, I'll go to the third question. In my early life, I was used to facilitate experiments with continuous pot still distillation. Okay, next one. Over the years, I have been used as an ingredient in multiple blended whiskies. Okay. Next one is I was mothballed for 7 years, but then I was put back into production in 1992.
Ooh.
92.
Good year, that. Good year.
No, you were born in 92.
Yeah.
Oh,
Get
that's
lost,
terrifying. That's terrifying to me.
I'm the only
You
one who
look,
can't
you
work the
look twice
technology.
as old as that.
Tough paper round.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one's for you, Gregor. I have 6 Oregon pine washbacks. Okay, I'll keep going.
Yeah.
I was acquired by the Shivers brothers in 2005.
Okay, that helps a bit.
Royal B.
I felt like the first one I did was Scotty got it in the 3rd question, so I thought I'd make this one much harder.
You succeeded.
My first official bottling was a 15-year-old and a 23-year-old. Is this too? Oh, I've done this too hard, haven't I?
Yeah.
Okay, this might be the giveaway. It's the second to last question. I have just been used for the 2023 Cadenheads Club bottling. No.
No idea.
Zilcho.
It's easy to make a hard quiz.
I use the Bible as well for my reference. Okay. I am Glenn Tockers.
Oh, so sorry, I didn't know that we had to. I
You have to guess.
said I was going to say Longmorn anyway. So,
I was thinking of a green distillery.
so is that the first time that nobody's ever got it?
Wicked.
You're not getting to drive again, Rob. Well done, Rob. Nobody got that. Hopefully, some of the people that were out there listening.
Hells,
Honestly,
I've got my money on the Hells getting this. She does pretty good in the chat on saying what she gets it, what number by.
Aye.
Tremendous, Rob. Thank you. Last time you get invited for I Am A Distillery. And Gordon, Scotty, Roy, thank you. Thank you all for
Thank you.
listening. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers.
Thank you, everybody.
See you later, guys.
Rob overestimated their knowledge there. I think that's a
Honestly.
big compliment, Rob. Cheers.
These will get harder to do the more we do them because
That's
you've
true.
used it.
The Glen Tockers is now my auction bottle. That's what I'm going for. That's like my kind of image. It's Glen Scotia and Glen Tockers.
Oh, you should have went for the other one then. I would have got it right.
I was gonna as well.
Uh-huh.